and welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Breakdown. I'm your host, Emma Volkers.
And I'm your co-host, McKinley, Lettre.
This week, we will be discussing bias in our media. Can we really trust what we read? This idea was tweeted to our idea board by Caitlin Brooks from Boulder, Colorado. Thanks, Caitlin.
If you too want to submit an idea for discussion, tweet us at Weekly Breakdown. We will be showcasing this by taking a look at two opposing articles surrounding Trump and the hurricane. One from Fox, a classically conservative source, and one from BBC, a more liberal side of things.
The question we want to answer today is, can anything be truly unbiased?
As we've discovered preparing this week's episode, bias is everywhere, especially in language and photos that news sources use as they present a piece.
Emotive language, photo selection, and source selection play a huge role in how the reader perceives a topic. This can start as early as the title and end as far as the piece in the last sentence.
Can a source really be unbiased? And what are some prominent examples of bias in everyday news articles? Let's break this down.
On September 13th, 2018, BBC News published an article titled, "Trump Disputes Puerto Rico Death Toll." This article, like most articles today, was full of bias.
First of all, the headline uses the word disputes. Disputes is emotive language that has connotations of fighting. This automatically makes the reader feel like Trump is unjustly fighting the Hurricane Maria death toll. By putting this word in the headline, the reader's perspective on the topic is shifted a certain way from the moment they glance at the article.
This biased perspective continues a few sentences into the article, when the author says Trump accused Democrats of inflating the death toll. The word accused makes it sound as if Trump is attacking the Democrats. It also gives off an aggressive tone, leading the reader to think badly of Trump. Accused is also a word that is not factual in most circumstances. For example, when someone is accused of a crime, it doesn't mean that they necessarily did it. It just means that they're on trial. This makes it seem like the conservative media is making an unbacked claim regarding the Democratic involvement in the scandal.
As well, the article includes a whole section about the George Washington University study that found the death toll from Hurricane Maria to be 2,975. By including this study, the article backs the point of view that Trump is incorrect when he says that the death toll was much less than 3,000. The inclusion of an official study further adds to the article's subtle message of ridicule against Trump.
Clearly, bias by source selection is prominent, but so is bias by photo selection. The inclusion and placement of pictures leads to bias in the article. The first thing the reader sees after reading the headline is a large photo of the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria. The photo shows a torn-up road, bare and fallen trees, and piles of rubble. This image of destruction makes the reader believe that a lot of damage occurred, which makes them then disagree with Trump's statement that there weren't many victims of the hurricane at all. By placing the image at top of the article, the reader has that point of view from the start.
The author also chose to close the article with a photo. This photo shows a massive block of water bottles abandoned in a vacant field. The photo is captioned with the question, why were 20,000 pallets of water left on a runway? The fact that these possibly life-saving resources weren't distributed makes the reader scrutinize the Trump administration's handling of the disaster. By ending the article with this shocking image, the reader is left with the impression that not much was done to help the victims.
To give BBC some credit, the first few sentences of the article try to give an objective summary of the story. However, partway through, it shifts to an analysis from BBC Washington writer Anthony Zurcher. The analysis is clearly opinionated and has a much stronger bias. However, someone who's quickly skimming the article may not notice that there is a section of analysis. This could lead to someone interpreting this heavily biased section as something more objective and factual.
Exactly. The analysis section is full of bias. Zurcher says Trump simply can't abide criticism of his performance as president. The phrase "can't abide criticism" is very harsh and makes the reader picture Trump almost as a child who can't admit when they're wrong.
Looking at some of the quotes we selected, including this one, we also realize that BBC refers to Trump only as Mr. Trump or Trump, completely avoiding using titles such as President Trump or Mr. President. This puts him in a less professional light and avoids showing him in a position of power and authority as well.
If they were to have used those titles, then it would have portrayed Trump as someone with a lot more authority and who was a lot more qualified in times of need. The lack of them allows the piece to be more critical and also shows that they do not view him as this powerful figure.
In fact, throughout the entire Fox News article, they refer to him habitually as President and Mr. President. The article starts out by saying that the media is once again beginning a familiar ritual involving President Trump.
This sets the tone of the article already as a disrespectful bash on the authoritative figure, as it mentions that the media is completing these actions once again. This also sets the focus more on the actions of the media than of the president himself. This is also an effective way to push the focus away from the actual quote that has received so much backlash.
Along the same lines, there's a video at the beginning of the article. This video was created by the same Fox News employee, which is already a bias, as the video is bound to show the same opinion as the article does.
And it does. Howard Kurtz's first line in the video is, "It's hurricane season, and that can only mean one thing: more stories about how Donald Trump is bad at handling this sort of thing." Right off the bat, the video is focusing more on the actions of the media than the hurricane itself and the actual quote that Trump is being criticized for.
This choice of added media instead of a photo is basically just a video reiteration of the whole article, telling the reader over and over again that this whole thing is due to the constant flow of media attention on Trump. This is seen not only in the first line and the first video, but also in the headline itself. It reads, "Media batter Trump with storm criticism as Hurricane Florence looms." Having emotive language so present in the headline has the reader making assumptions before they even read the article.
This is especially shown through the use of the word batter. This word has strong emotive connotation, as it is much more aggressive than words such as critique or question. This makes it seem as if Trump is being harassed or attacked viciously by the media, putting the focus and blame on that as opposed to the hurricane or the tweet in question.
At one point, Kurtz calls the media tone deaf, a clear sign of bias as it tries to denounce the arguments that are made against Trump, making once again the media look like more of the enemy than anything else. Regardless of whose fault the whole scandal really was, the article focuses completely on putting focus and blame on the media. This takes away from the topic at hand, which is the actions of Trump in accordance with Hurricane Maria.
Towards the end of the article, it mentions a criticized speech delivered by President Trump at Shanksville regarding 9/11. The speech was delivered in September of 2018. It says that while the media found many things wrong with his approach to the catastrophic event, Trump actually delivered a beautifully written speech.
This event has nothing to do with the main topic of the article, which is Trump's tweet about Hurricane Maria. The author is just trying to add in more examples of the media attacking Trump for things that many believe he shouldn't be criticized for. By including this information, the author is trying desperately to paint Trump in a more positive light, even if it's slightly off topic.
Also in the end of the article, the media says Trump was stepping in it more deeply this morning. The use of this euphemism, "stepped in it," makes it seem like he's not at fault.
Exactly. By including this phrase, the author makes it seem like Trump's actions were a result of a trap by the media. This makes it seem as though he has fallen victim to a scheme, as opposed to making a personal mistake or a conscious choice.
On another note, when considering sources, the BBC article included quotes from a university study on the Hurricane Maria death toll. However, the Fox article did not include these facts, even though supposedly these two pieces are on the same topic. By choosing to omit the study, the Fox article ignores the other perspective. If they mentioned the number of people the study said died, it would make it seem more like Trump was in the wrong. Since this would go against their point that the media is unfairly attacking Trump, they chose not to include it.
This may make it seem like Fox is more biased than its counterpart. However, the BBC article was quick to use these statistics, as it gave them an upper hand in their argument. This proves that source selection and source omission can be used for different effects using the exact same sources. As you can tell, bias is everywhere. It's impossible to find a news story that is completely objective.
Bias exists in all sources on all sides of the political spectrum. It influences our views on not only the topic, but the world.
Because everything is so biased, it's very important to take a step back and really think about what you're reading. What aspects are facts and what aspects are opinions? Do you really agree with everything that the article is saying?
In order to be a truly informed citizen, it is crucial to acknowledge the bias in the media you're consuming. This becomes even more important in this day and age where fake news is everywhere.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Weekly Breakdown.
Check back next week for more discussions of news and current events.